One of the most extraordinary things about all miscarriages of justice is how long it takes to sort them out. And of course, I'm talking about the sub-postmaster scandal, and I'm talking about the fact that the whistle was actually blown as long ago as 2009. Yes, back in 2009, some serious doubts were put into the public's mind, into Parliament's mind, that actually the Horizon computer system wasn't actually working and that innocent people were being convicted. And yet, despite that, despite quite a lot of publicity at the time, the prosecutions kept on coming up until 2015. 736 people were convicted of taking money from the post office. And it's an awful scandal. 4 that we know of have taken their lives. Many other people's lives were ruined. It looks to be the single biggest miscarriage of justice in British judicial history. And the odd thing is that whilst this story has kept on rumbling, I didn't see any of it as an MEP. It wasn't deemed to be a European issue, and indeed it wasn't. But suddenly MPs are coming out of the woodwork saying, yes, we had people in our constituency coming on to us complaining. And yet it takes a docudrama on ITV to reignite public debate in it. Well, all I can say to that is better late than never. Now, a huge amount of media attention has been focusing on the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, because he was the competent minister from 2010 when the scandal was at its height. But I raised a little question this morning. You know, when Keir Starmer, or should I say Sir Keir Starmer, because of course he was knighted for the 5 years that he acted as Director of Public Prosecutions, virtually every week Starmer boasts to us about his time at the DPP and the job that he did. But I asked a question this morning on social media, which was, why we're not discussing Keir Starmer's role in this? Why do I say that? Well, because, quite simply, the Prosecution of Offences Act, which came in 1985, allowed private prosecutions. And what the Post Office did in every single one of these cases is they were able to bypass the police, they were able to bypass the Crown Prosecution Service and bring private prosecutions. But the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, which Starmer did, I repeat, from 2008 until 2013, has power under Section 6.2 of the Act to take over private prosecutions. So actually, Starmer had the power to take over these prosecutions, or indeed to say enough. And it's impossible to believe, given the hundreds of prosecutions that were happening, given the media commentary that was taking place at the time, that he wasn't aware of it. I'm not actually accusing him of anything. I'm just asking why, as DPP, he didn't ask questions, he didn't intervene. And I'd like to know from MPs, you know, did they at the time write to Starmer when he was the DPP? And maybe some of this stuff will start to come out over the next few days. Of course, as usual, whenever I say anything, it must be wrong. And everyone said I was wrong, including Twitter, or X as they're now called, who put up a community notice to say, beware of what I've said. Well, you might actually notice now, if you look at X, that community notice has been taken down. And a man called John Hyde, he replied that I was wrong. Funny enough, he's wrong. He's the deputy news editor for the Law Society magazine. He says in his bio, we should all try to be as nice as we can, if possible. He hit back at me, and he's now had to admit he was wrong. Starmer, as DPP, could potentially have played a role in all of this. Now, the big question, I think, is what next? And given that it's taken us many, many years to get to this point, I guess we have to ask ourselves a question. Should all the convictions be overturned? Now, normally, I wouldn't support such a proposition. I'd say that it's wrong to blanket say everybody's guilty or everybody's innocent. But given the passage of time and given the age of many of these people, for them to actually physically be able to face going through their own appeals would be off-putting to many. And frankly, if we go through that process, many would have died or by that stage be incapacitated through age. So for once, I think actually we should say that everybody that was convicted in the Horizon scandal has been exonerated, even if there were, amongst the 736, one or two bad apples. That's my take. That's my view. Let me know what you think. Farage@gbnews.com.